your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from betting weekly because we win. That is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Thursday. Mike Carver here with you along with Doug Kezirian as we get ready for all the action tonight. We have Thursday Night Football kicking off Week 10, the Broncos and the Raiders. We've got a couple of college football games. We have got one NBA game, just one. Rare. I feel like it's the NHL tonight. That's like an NHL move to only have one game on a weeknight. But the NHL does have a full slate as well. So plenty to get to. College hoops is there too. Doug, it's good to see you. Another daily double. How about that? You got to start there. Back-to-back nights with the daily double. Come on, Doug. Let's go.
Classified as a rocking chair winner in college basketball over under with 7 minutes to go. So nice that we didn't have to sweat that one out. I already know my play for tomorrow night. The question is, don't have my play for tonight just yet. We have some plays. We just got to will it down, maybe flush it out with you. That'll help. So hopefully we'll get there. We'll get another winner here.
Yeah, that one was pretty rocking chair, that one. I flipped it on after we got the over in Toronto and Utah, and this is what we talk about a lot, right? Utah pulled the goalie with 4 minutes left in the game, down 2. Sure enough, Toronto was able to get an empty netter just about 30 seconds after that to get us over the 6.5. So nice job. I flipped on Southern and Marquette, and I didn't have to watch for long, Doug. By about the 8-minute mark in the second half, they cruised past that 155. So nice job with the daily double on Betting Weekly Live. We nab it a couple nights in a row. We're going to go back after it, of course, tonight. We will start with the NFL. Don't forget, Bet Rivers tonight, NFL primetime, first touchdown, second chance bet. Users who opt in on the Bet Rivers app or at betrivers.com will receive a second chance token for any first touchdown wager on each game day of NFL primetime games. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. Of course, tonight's game in primetime will be the Raiders and the Broncos in Denver for us, Doug. Right now, at Bet Rivers, -9 for the Broncos and a total of a flat 43.
This is interesting. This number touched 10 briefly, but it's been 9.5, and now the steam's come on the underdog. And, I get it. You got to respect the market, and there's certainly something to be said about the Raiders being, I'm not going to say live, but a live thorn here in Denver. Like, the Broncos haven't looked super sharp. They've been on this nice win streak. Half of the games they easily could have lost. Raiders have always played Denver tough, even in the Mile High City. And Brock Bowers being back for the Raiders completely changes this offense. So Geno Smith still stinks, still has guys open, will turn the ball over, especially against a good Broncos team. But, we know this. We've been doing this a long time, and I'm collectively, including the audience. Like, we talk about this all the time, guys. You can't just assume the best performance of every team. You can't just assume the worst performance of every team. The Raiders can play well for stretches. Like, how many times in that game against the Jags where they left for dead and they drove the field and got a touchdown? Not that the Jags are the 85 Bears, but this Raiders team with Brock Bowers is much more competent. So it's a big number. I'd be careful if you were in survivor leagues a little bit. Bo Nix is not a guy who really strings together 4 good quarters. Also, last week, if I'm not mistaken, the Texans had first and goal twice on the 1 and settled for field goals. DeMeco Ryans also had 4th and 1, like early second quarter, chose to kick a 51-yarder instead, missed it. And then obviously Stroud got hurt. So they really should have lost last week's game. They got very fortunate. Now, give Nick's credit for picking them up off the mat again in the fourth quarter, but this is not that dominant of a team, and the Raiders aren't a total punching bag. So I would just say the numbers come down for a reason. I think this could be a sweat and probably the right side. So I lean Raiders here, but they're still the Raiders. I think they're a complete mess, so I can't actually bet them.
Yeah, it's tough to actually bet the Raiders. Like, it's tough to just sit there, Doug, and whether you're looking at your phone or you're going to the window, however it is that you're doing it, you just go, oh, man. It's just how can you actually line up and say, I'm going to take the Raiders tonight? It is difficult. Get involved with the chat box. I just saw lots of people tailing the Daily Double last night. Thank you for that. Thanks for tuning in.
Water's
like that
warm.
here.
Keep it up.
Keep going. You bring up Bowers, and it does change things a little bit for the Raiders. We did have a little bit of a run in prime time and on Thursdays where dogs were covering. Now, that hasn't happened, Doug, the last two Thursdays. The last two Thursdays, the favorite has won handily, Chargers, and then, of course, last week you had the Ravens down in Miami. The total, though, of 43. I feel like with Bowers in there, you can get a little bit more from the Raiders offensively. And Raiders and Broncos, as you mentioned, Raiders play them tough. They've actually gone over last 3 times that they've played, and that includes, Knicks being there with the Broncos last year. So kind of lean to the over as well here if we're looking at the total side of things, Doug.
A lot, and I think that's a fair point. Obviously, Bowers changes things, and I'm a Raider fan. I'm so sick of watching Kelsey and all these other guys just get wide open all the time. And finally, as a Raider fan, we have our own guy. It's like, oh, this guy's always open, and opposing defenses don't guard him. But I will say these Broncos kind of sputter at times. Again, Knicks sort of they're known for laying an egg and a half, but it is the Raiders defense. Last week, obviously, it was a stone under at halftime and then went bananas in the fourth quarter. So I'd be careful betting unders in any Raiders game. So the over probably gets there. I know there's going to be a concept of matriculating up the field with the rushing attack, but it's going to be too easy and too tempting to do some play actions with strikes down the field. And also, honestly, Raiders love to throw deep. And I know Myers has been traded to the Jags, but they still have plenty of speedsters, and they're going to want to kind of take the top off the defense. So I wouldn't bet under. I would not bet under.
No, I would not either. Now, Bowers, of course, came back last week after missing extended time. He had 12 catches for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns. 66.5 is the number tonight. I know Denver's defense is good, Doug. And they're at home. They're even better. I respect all of that. But this number feels light considering how much work they're going to go to Bowers. I mean, 13 targets, 12 catches last week. They're going to make him a big part. He makes everything move. The 66.5 seem a little light to you.
Does, and it feels like a square play too, but squares win a lot. I don't care. I mean, look at the NBA last night. Squares cleaned up, talking to bookmakers and whatnot. They all get kind of crying about last night's performance. And like you said, the targets are there. Some of them are 7-yard plays and stuff. That adds up, man. It really does. I think the question is, how have the Broncos done against elite tight ends? Because that's what Brock Bowers is. He's an elite tight end. And it's just really hard to gauge because Geno Smith's such a different quarterback and whatnot. And, no one's quite like Bowers in this type of offense. I mean, the Cowboys game, I guess that Ferguson, he's not Bowers, but it's Dak at least likes to go to him. And he didn't get, he had 1 target for no catches. But I just don't think there's an apples to apples. Kelsey in his prime, but that's not really now for this year, and they didn't play the Chiefs yet. So I just think you have to go with it because he's that special of a player.
I am going to go with it. When I saw you listed, I was going to list it as well, but you had it on there. Bowers over the 66.5. Now, I saw a couple things in the chat box there I want to bring up with you. One question was about Raiders playing an overtime game on Sunday and then having to play the short week. So they played an extra, and that was a pretty long overtime. They went for 2, obviously, to try to win it at the end, and then playing on a short week. And I'll combine that, Doug, with the other one I saw there, which was Raiders money line ? Tonight in Denver. That's a little too far for me.
It's an interesting point. Those are extra minutes they played, and it's an altitude, right? Short week, and it's also not week 3, right? It's week 10, so It's a little bit lengthier into the season. And I believe the short week, this is sort of the line of demarcation for teams where the road team has a real disadvantage. First half of the season, not so much. They're still relatively fresh. We saw the Ravens be fine last week, although Lamar and company, hadn't been playing every week. I'm not too worried about it. I think the Raiders empty the tank. I sometimes think we get a little too carried away. I mean, let's not forget these are elite athletes. Their bodies are sore. So football's a little different, the recovery time. But often we talk about, these guys flying and things like that's like, come on, they fly first class. They have like top of the line nutritionists and fitness treatment. Raiders didn't do a whole lot of tackling so last week, so I don't know if their bodies are going to be that sore. Maybe the offense would be a little bit because they're running around, but for the most part, I think the Raiders are going to be up for this game. I think they really are going to want to play well. Now the question is, can they execute well enough? It's all part of it. I would not take the Raiders money line, but I'm not laying Broncos money line. I'm not doing Broncos in teasers. I'm not doing Broncos in money line parlays. I'm not doing Broncos in Survivor. They probably get there. I mean, obviously the last month and a half has demonstrated they usually get it done, and the Raiders defense is pathetic, but I'll still side with the Raiders, but I'm talking pick 'em leagues. I can't fire on this one.
A couple of other player props. I'm going to go on the Denver side now here for me, Doug. First of all, Dobbins with the run game. You look at the games at home this year in Denver. He has gotten well past this number, especially, look, the last 3 times out, twice he's gone over 100 yards. The other was 81 in that Giant game, which they were throwing a lot in the second half. They were down. But for the most part, Denver at home likes to smash mouth the football here. So I'm going to take Dobbins over his number tonight, which is only 70.5. So I'm going to go over with him. But the weird thing is, Doug, while Dobbins has been getting the yards, RJ Harvey has been getting in the end zone. He's got 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games for the Denver Broncos, and yet they're still giving me at Bet Rivers plus 215 for Harvey tonight. So I'm going to go over Dobbins with the 70.5, but Harvey to get the pay dirt at plus 215.
Look, first of all, it lines up with your over 43, right? You're expecting touchdowns, things like that. But you're right. I have noticed he's getting the ball around the goal line, and that did, catch my attention at least. So, I think plus 215 is where we want to be in some of these anytime touchdowns. The problem is, I guess, just, if the Raiders, can they get stops inside the 10 to bring up a rushing attack? I guess that's the question, because I just see a lot of nicks in the play action and guys wide open, and they have some solid receivers, right? Some guys who do get open and can stretch the defense.
It's kind of, Doug, like one of those things that it just kind of makes me also scratch my head a little bit. If a guy has 5 touchdowns in his last 3 weeks, you're still going to give me that over 2-1 for him? It's kind of, they're showing that they're going to give him the ball to score. And I would have thought he would have gone down to 170, 180, somewhere down there. It's kind of just still jumping out to me that he's over 2-1. That leans me into that Harvey area, especially with how much he's been able to score. So Raiders and the Broncos tonight, Thursday night football, week 10. And got a special for you at Bet Rivers tonight. First quarter feast. Bo Nix to throw a touchdown pass in the first quarter of Broncos Raiders, boosted from plus 200 to plus 250. Right out of the gate with Bo Nix tonight, Doug. Right out of the gate, getting him a touchdown.
It's tempting. I mean, we talked about it yesterday with the Wembanyama, 15 points plus, and Luka as well in the first half. I think this one's a little better. Broncos willing to go for it as well, so they're going to extend drives if it's 4th and 1 around the 25 or 30. That gives you a little bit likelihood. And I agree. I think that we'll see more touchdowns through the air than on the ground with Denver. So I can get behind that one. That does seem a little fun. The problem is, how many drives are they going to have in the first quarter, right? So they're going to have 2 tops, right? And then each drive prop in the live market to get a touchdown is about plus 190, I would think, in this type of matchup in Denver. So you're getting plus 250 for it to be a passing touchdown, but then you're getting 2 drives. So it seems relatively fair pricing here.
Yes, it certainly does. And the 2, you're hoping that you're getting the ball first. You're getting the first drive of the game. Then you feel real good about getting at least 2 drives out of them for that. So Raiders, Broncos tonight. Good stuff there. Good special from Bet Rivers coming up this evening. NBA, we only have 1 game tonight. Before I get there, you were kind of talking, Doug, about last night and some of the things that went on around the league. I did stay up and watch the end of the Spurs and the Lakers, which was a fun game that the Lakers ended up winning by 2. The Thunder lost their first game of the season last night in Portland, and the Nets won their first game of the season in Indiana against the Pacers. So there was a lot of crazy stuff in the NBA last night.
Read by you to grab the nets. I mean, you saw that coming. You thought the stars were aligned. You're going to get a good effort from Brooklyn. And I had I had the Blazers. So both of us saw the Bagels maybe disappearing in each of the win and loss column. It was a weird night in the NBA in that regard. And you're right. The ending in the Spurs Lakers with Marcus Smart stepping on the baseline. Literally all he had to do was inbound the ball. And he steps on the baseline to give San Antonio a chance, which would have been a horrific beat if it ended up, changing the result of the game, both money line and spread. But it did not, fortunately. One game tonight.
Yeah.
But last night was, it's just a reminder. Just the NBA is crazy, right? Like you're going to get some wild results. Then you're going to get some predictable results. You're going to get some stat lines that don't make any sense. And it's why it's such a grind for 6, 7, 8 months. It's bizarre.
Well, I know you saw this last night because you liked the Celtics last night, which was a good job because they won by 30. But the weird part about the Celtics winning by 30 is that they were down 10 after the first quarter, right? They were down.
Still covered the first half line, 7.5. They still covered the first half line minus 7.5.
They outscored them 44-23 in the second quarter. The Celtics last night against the Wizards on their way to a 29-point win. So strange night. Let's go to tonight. One game, as you mentioned, just after 9 o'clock East, Clippers and the Suns in Phoenix. First of I believe a home and home. I think they're playing in LA this weekend, whether it's Saturday night or Friday night or Saturday night. I know they're playing twice in a row. But the story here, of course, Doug, is you got no Harden tonight. You got no Kawhi tonight for the Clips. And that is why you see the Suns at Bet Rivers minus 2.5, 224.5 total.
They're playing Saturday in LA. Yeah. This Clippers team has issues. It's funny. Some of the, journalists or NBA guys that I respect going into the season on various shows, like Brian Windhorst was like, he's like, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of like the Clippers to be a long shot. And then it's the same old story with James Harden and other nonsense. I don't know if Tyronn Lue's distracted with what's going on with the FBI investigation and his close friend and maybe his involvement. Suns tonight, Grayson Allen's sick. He's questionable, but he's been starting in the shooting guard position in place of Jalen Green, who will be making his Suns debut tonight. So that will be nice just to have a guy who can create offense and score alongside Booker. He's not the same as Booker, but it is nice to have a weapon like this. Clippers are just a mess. What people don't talk about with this load management, and Michael Jordan in that interview with NBC last week, and they touched on it, but they only touched on like the positive of why he played all the time. It's to build continuity, chemistry, and grow as a unit. And this start and stop thing with load management is like, oh, Kawhi's in this week. Now, like what, you're taking a step away, like everyone's talked about the Lakers once they integrate LeBron, right? It's going to change things. Hopefully the net is a positive, but it's going to disrupt things. Imagine doing that like every other game, right? So it's like, oh, like they're in a groove. The Lakers are in a groove. But this is what the Clippers do with Kawhi, and it's a switch you can't flip because Kawhi's great, but so are a lot of other players. And so the margin of error is just not worth the start and stop nonsense that when other teams like the Nuggets and SGA with the Thunder, when you have other teams with superstars, they're in a groove all season and they're improving as the season goes on. I mean, look what the Bulls are doing this year to start the season 6-1. Last year, they were kind of a mess. Trade Lonzo, second half of the year, they're much better. And it's carried over into this year. So like Bazelis and even Giddey got so much better in the second half of the season. So I do appreciate the load management once in a while, spot start for like a reserve, because you don't want to just see him playing with reserves. You want to see him playing with starters and you get some development. That's how Tony Parker evolved from the Spurs, got some playing time and things like that with the ones, the starting unit. But this Clippers team's a mess and I don't want to bet on them. So actually I'm flipping my pick at least. I'm going to go Phoenix minus 2.5 here. I think they're a team that may have turned the corner after a struggling start. And I think this is a good opportunity for them. And guys like Zubac are really good, but they're not vocal enough on this Clippers team. Batum is only shooting threes. they're kind of a mess all around. And I like the second unit with Chris Paul and Lopez, but I'll take the Suns here. I just think they're going to want this one more.
Yeah, and it's tough when you don't have either of those guys in there. It's tough when you don't have Harden or Kawhi. You'd like to maybe just have one of them sit, kind of flip it around back and forth, have one of them in there, but having both of them out, that's a big chore. That's a lot of offense and a lot of good play out of the Clipper lineup this evening. So one game in the NBA. You mentioned the Bulls. They finally are playing a road game tomorrow night, Doug. Big NBA Cup game for the Bulls in Milwaukee. That's why everyone's off tonight, Doug. I guess they got to be rested for those big NBA Cup games tomorrow night. They got to make sure everyone's rested.
God help us with those court designs. I just don't. I know the intention is so people watching know it's a different type of game, but why not just put a big damn logo on the court instead of these hideous paint jobs? I guess the NBA Cup. I just. From what I'm gathering, is not every team cares about these games. Some do, some don't. And so there's some long shot value by some teams that might be caring a little much. And Revolutionary hosts something, says John Collins, big game tonight. Well, he's going to have the usage. And I've said it many times, and it's worth saying again. Odds makers do not like these games. Their preference is to have both teams at full strength. Right. They do not want because they don't know what the true power rating is of a team. Number one, two, they don't know how to do props with the usage that now they give out and they get two-way action and they move accordingly, but it's not their comfort zone, so to speak. So if you see an angle with the usage and things like that, I'd certainly go for it, but I'd also ladder it up because I think I'd lean into the volatility of it all.
And it's, you bring that up, and I'll probably ask you something here that's a little deeper into the weeds, but like you're talking about, when you have star players out of the game and you don't know exactly if you're making a line or whatever, how much that's worth, it's a lot different, Doug, than say in the NFL, where if you're missing your starting quarterback, and that quarterback's been around a while, you kind of have a handle how many points is that quarterback worth, right? Like, is that kind of, it's a much harder in the NBA with guys being in and out and having two guys out.
Right. And cluster injuries, and then also key numbers, right? So in the NFL, it's tough to assess a quarterback because you don't know if it's like 3 and 7 or so much more valuable and how good the other team is. But in the NBA, and the reason I enjoy betting the WNBA so much more is because they don't have the depth of the NBA. There's not someone off the bench that can go for 30 in the W if a star is out. Whereas in the NBA, like that can certainly happen. I mean, even going back to Kobe's last game, right? Kobe went for whatever it was, 70, 60 something, right?
Yeah.
He said, I still have it. I just can't do this every night from a preparation standpoint, an effort standpoint, and training standpoint. But he's got it in his bag for one night. So all these reserves have it in their bag for one game, right? I'm blanking on the guy, but I gave some props a year ago. He was traded. Bones Highland. Like Bones Highland got run with like 4 guys out last year, and he went for 30 something. I just don't know if he can do it when you prepare the whole scouting report. And obviously, Highland's going to care more about game 8 or whatever it is than anyone else in that game because he's getting an opportunity. So John Collins is going to play his tail off tonight. There'll be opportunities like that, but I'm curious to how Jalen Green mixes in. I mean, let's not forget, the Rockets went to the playoffs last year. He was the alpha. Now, Sengun was really good, and they were both comparable guys. But the ball went through Jalen Green. He got buckets. His athleticism popped off the screen, and that's against other NBA guys, which is saying something. So I think Green and Booker, I hope as an NBA fan, they're not going to have much of an adjustment period or growing pains. But Jalen Green playing really changes everything. And also, if Grayson Allen can play and maybe off the bench, he's got an excellent shooting touch from distance. I think a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, he led the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage. So Phoenix could have some interesting wrinkles on this.
They certainly could. And there it is on the bottom. NBA Cup continues Friday. Betting Weekly Live. We'll have all of that tomorrow night. And Doug will have all his screens up with all those bright red and bright blue courts all over the screen for him tomorrow night. Should be a lot of fun. How about some pucks? We've been good with the pucks lately too, Doug. We've been doing really well with the hockey.
Doing great.
Full slate this evening as well. 9 games in the NHL. Why don't we start with this one? because this is a good matchup tonight. Two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference so far through the first month of the season, Montreal and the Devils at the Rock in Newark. Devils minus 148, Habs plus $1.20, totals a flat 6. I will tell you, Doug, when I woke up this morning, I initially thought over in this game. Dug a little deeper into it, found out that Montreal is going to start this kid Dobes, who's actually 6-0 this year. Montembeault hasn't been as good, who's kind of supposed to be their regular starter. This kid Dobes been really well. He's going to play. Markstrom's in for the Devils. Kind of now leaning under for the Canadians and the Devils tonight at the Rock, with the Devils winning. I do think the Devils will win. 148 is a pretty big price, but should be a really fun game. I think one of the marquee games tonight in the NHL.
We're on top of stuff. Can I ask you a question about a particular game I will be attending tonight?
Oh, yeah. I was hoping you were going to.
The Predators at home against the Flyers. Preds, by the way, strange name for a hockey team name or any team, sports team name. But anyways, Predators, $1.27 at Bet Rivers at home. Kind of a coin flip, 5.5, low total. Are we going to see some goaltending between the pipes between these two teams?
5.5 is such a low. You don't see many 5.5s now, Doug. We do this stuff every day, and we kind of look at it. You know, the Preds have played a couple of higher scoring games recently. You know, they had a 5-4 game with the Canucks, a 4-2 game with the Flames, 5-2 with the Lightning. The problem is, I don't know if Philly's the type of team that has the offense to go in there and play a little up and down shootout. I do like the Preds tonight, though, Doug. I don't think the Flyers are a good road team. I know the Predators have had their problems. Both teams are about 500. Preds have lost a couple games in a row here, but the number's telling me Predators at minus 127 because they're really not probably good enough to be that big a favorite. But with the Flyers coming in, I think it's a good spot for them, and you're going to see the home team tonight with you in attendance, Doug, beating the Flyers this evening. That's what I think you're going to get in Nashville.
When you say they're not a good team in hockey, sorry, good road team. In hockey, why is that, do you think? I know the home team gets the second line change, but why is that? I know, and this could apply for all sports too. I mean, I'm just curious how it's applies and what kind of rationale you have for it.
I'm not the biggest. I don't think that the last line change means much, honestly. I don't factor that in really ever. I think in the playoffs, it can make a difference. In the regular season, I don't think who has the last line change makes all that much of a difference. Look, some teams just don't play well on the road. Look, we've talked about the Rangers a lot, right? They haven't won a game at home all year. They've been great on the road. They've gone out on the road. They've won a ton of road games. They can't win at home. There's just weird stuff sometimes that plays into it with some of these teams, whether it's just being not in their comfort zone, out of familiarity, whatever it is. Now, the Flyers haven't gotten a lot of road games in yet this year. They spent most of their games, played 9 games at home and only 4 games on the road. So the Flyers really probably, Doug, don't have enough yet data in there to say what they are on the road, but good spot for Nashville tonight. I just don't think the Flyers are that great of a team, Doug. That's part of it too. It's not that good. So it's a good spot.
I mean, that's the question. Because I talked to some math guys a couple years ago, and they said, honestly, this home court, home field thing really is just about how good the team is. Like Seattle, when they had the Legion of Boom, the Seahawks, they were awesome at home. And then afterwards, they weren't that good, right? The Thunder, when they had the big three with Harden, Westbrook, and Durant, they were like unbeatable at home. And then guess what? When those guys went away, they weren't that good at home. So yes, altitude is a different sort of variable, but for the most part, the home road thing is really consistent with how good the team is.
I think, Doug, and this is a bigger picture point really for every sport, I don't think it means anything like it used to 15, 20, 30 years ago. They got home field advantage. They've got 7th game at home. Doug, we just saw the Dodgers go into Toronto and win game 6 and 7. We have seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is historically always been home team based, we have seen teams go on the road in game 7 and win. We've seen teams in the NBA go on the road in game 7 and win. We've seen teams in the NFL go on the road in the playoffs and win games and get to the Super Bowl. I'm with you, Doug. I think it's all over with. I don't think it matters that much. Maybe there's a handful of places across all 4 sports where it's still very tough for a visitor to go in. But I don't think there's many, Doug, if at all. There's not much of it.
Yeah, I know the math. I mean, when I was in high school, I may or may not have made some bets on NFL, and the rationale was always 3 is the home. Now,
Yep.
that's just that's an unawareness to the market of the value of 3. But for the most part, talking to the sharp guys and more math modelers in the NFL, the highest like home field advantage, like Arrowhead in January or the Ralph in January, you're talking like 1.1, depending on whether 3's involved and stuff like that. 0.7 is a low end, so we're not talking anywhere close to the 3. I mean, just it's significant in odds making world. If on a neutral it'd be 3, but they're at home it'd be 3.5. That's massive with the key number. Now, if it's off the key number, going from 4 to 5.5, maybe. So on a neutral versus maybe that's a 1.5, but that's kind of a dead zone from 4 to 5.5. So that's so when you're talking money line prices in hockey, it's not going to be that significant. And the reason for this decline is very, very variable things. A variety of things, I should say. One is travel. Like they're traveling private planes, great nutritionists, and so it's not as taxing on the body. Number 2, just technology. Like in football, like the quarterback headset and coach, like the crowd noise is not as big of a barrier or hurdle to clear. Now in hockey, again, they're training, they got the right fitness. These guys are top of the line athletes. Frankly, some of these teams play better on the road because they get the heck out of Dodge. They don't have to worry about the headaches at home, and not like the ball and chain nonsense. It's more just the responsibility, like the to-do, just stuff you have to get done when you're at home.
Yep.
And so it's that's why it's so much more of a level playing field. And that's why we've seen underdogs really perform well straight up in the NFL the last like 4 years.
Yeah, it's much different from back in the day, Doug.
Right.
Back in the day, it doesn't make as much to it. Other stuff in hockey tonight that I like. Caps are in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. The Caps got off the schneid last night, broke that losing streak. Ovi did score the 900th goal, which was nice for us at plus 128. Penguins have been pretty good this year. They've been pretty good at home. Small. I mean, this is pretty much a coin flip, 117 and 107. I like the Penguins tonight, Doug. Caps have not been playing well, and I know they won last night, kind of got it out of their system. I don't think they're going to come back out tonight, second night of a back-to-back, and they have their backup goalie in as well. Thompson's not playing. Give me the Penguins minus 107 at home.
Okay. At the new Igloo, because I like to call it the Igloo.
The PPG,
it's not like it's a sponsor,
the new
right?
Igloo. No.
Right.
It was
It's not sponsor name,
Nope.
It's not like back in the day the Flyers played at the Spectrum, right?
Yep.
Like wasn't that the name of the sponsor,
Yes.
right? So I think that's inherent with the Spectrum, but so if the sponsors, I think the Penguins should always be playing in the Igloo.
The new Igloo. And the other one for me tonight, Tampa is in Vegas. Really good game against the Knights. Yeah. Knights are minus $1.24. Even money for the Lightning at Bet Rivers. This total's a flat 6. They played, Doug, a couple weeks ago in Tampa. Really good, low-scoring 2-1 overtime game that Tampa won. I think Vegas gets them back tonight, and I also think it's going to be low-scoring again. Under 6. Vegas played the 1-0 game with Detroit the other night. They've been a really good defensive team at home. Lightning, 2 really good teams. I think we'll get a little bit of a tighter game again. Under 6 with Vegas winning this one.
I think it's going to be an outlier for I think Lightning win in a high-scoring game.
Ooh, Doug going the other way. I like it.
Yeah, I think Golden Knights get a little tight in these situations. They almost try too hard. I actually kind of like the Golden Knights on the road these days.
And look, I would never advocate for playing the Buffalo Sabres. I would never do that. But they are minus 139 favorites over the Blues. The Blues have been awful. Second night of a back-to-back for them. They're playing the backup goalie tonight too. That could be a good over spot, Doug. Over 6 Blues and Sabres. Now that I know the backup's playing for St. Louis, that might be a nice spot to get a little up and away too. I can't lay 139 with Buffalo.
In sports, when you have these bad teams, you usually see points, and it takes 5 to lose, 5 or less. I mean, I think that's probably a strong play.
Someone brought this game up in the chat box just a moment ago, and I will talk about it. Anaheim's in Dallas against the Stars. Now, you don't see many Star games at 6.5. We've talked a lot about their unders the past couple weeks since the season started. I am not getting in front of I want to see this one, Doug. This is one of these games we talk about where you want to watch and see how it plays out. The Ducks have been playing some high-flying, wild games. They beat Florida at home the other night, put a 7 spot on them. I don't think they could do that down in Dallas, but I don't want to go after them with how hot they've been putting the puck in the net. So this should be a fun game, Anaheim and Dallas. I'm going to kind of soak it in, maybe do something live tonight in that game with a total of 6.5.
Like it. I like it. That's a big money line, though. I don't want to get involved there.
That's also another reason. The Stars and Anaheim's been playing well. So that's another reason why I don't want to go after the Stars with the 186 tonight. So there you go. 9 games in the NHL. I saw somebody bring up the puck parlay too, which was put out on the Bet River socials earlier. New Jersey, Pittsburgh, and Vegas was the puck parlay tonight for everybody. So get involved with that. Also, if you like what you're watching, which you do, make sure you subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube. Sign up for the newsletter, and also check out all of our other shows. How about Release This Morning? Betting Weekly Extra Time. Steve Wiss, James Eastham, and Dan Roebuck as they preview Match Week 11 across European leagues, including big Saturday Bundesliga match between Union Berlin and Bayern Munich. So make sure you check out Steve, James, and Dan, Betting Weekly Extra Time on our Betting Weekly YouTube channel. Check that out. This is Betting Weekly Live. Mike Carver and Doug Kezirian here with you. We're getting you ready for all the action on Thursday night. We do have some college football, Doug, but before we get there, let's do a few of these Saturday games as we like to do on Thursday's edition of Betting Weekly Live. Some of the bigger games in college football for this week will start noon East in the Big 12. BYU and Texas Tech, both of these teams, of course, Doug, were in the top 12 of the first college football playoff rankings. BYU's undefeated. Texas Tech's been very good this year, and this is a big number, 10.5 for the Red Raiders at home, total of 52.
BYU's ranked 7th, the Red Raiders 8th. So then you got the Red Raiders 10.5-point favorites, but that's okay. Your rankings should be about what you've done so far this year. And I'm okay if things are crazy in terms of change next week. Like, that doesn't mean this week's rankings were wrong, because you should be based on what you've done so far. I think it's too big of a number. I think BYU's got a lot of grown men playing for them in terms of their age, and I think Tech could win this whole thing. I don't think BYU should be undefeated. I think they're a little bit of a farce, but this line's pretty big. I think the Cougars should get credit for being that mark against the spread that you see on your screen, 6-2 ATS. Now, Tech's front four, really impressive, really imposing, but I think we're going to see points here. 52.5 feels low. This Texas Tech team, like I said, I like their defense a lot, but they can give up some points as well. And they can score with the best of them. So I think the Cougs are going to keep their foot on the gas, even if they're down, 17 or 20, that I think it's so much that the Red Raiders are going to have to keep scoring. So I think you're going to get like 40 out of Texas Tech. I think you're looking at 40-20. Maybe it's 35-28. I think this one might fly over the total. Maybe we get some field goals. Maybe it's 31-24, 34-21, that kind of thing. But I think we get over. So I like over quite a bit here.
Well, I kind of like the second score you said. Can we do 35-28? Is that okay?
Yes.
We
can.
Get that? Because I like BYU with the points. I think that BYU has shown me enough times this year, Doug, that I just don't think that they're going to get smashed. Even though Texas Tech's better than them, you go back to the Utah game, you go to the Iowa State game, you go to some of these games that BYU, everyone's been waiting for them, the other shoe to drop, right? And for them to finally lose. And I do think they're going to lose on Saturday. I think the Red Raiders are going to win this game, but I think BYU is going to show some face here, and it's going to be a really good game. And despite the loss, Doug, if they play well, and it is a one-possession game, might keep them in the conversation for the college football playoff, even with that one loss. So I think BYU is going to play well.
So I guess my question is, this line's high for a reason.
Right.
And there's been a lot of people fading the Cougars. Now, the last game made sense because it was such a bad spot to go against Iowa State, but they responded, especially in the second half. So I guess my question is, what do you see with BYU that others don't? Or like, what was your, name that tune sort of price? Like, would you not be taking it if it were 9.5 kind of thing? Like, are you just taking it it just feels like too many? Or Do you see something that the guys who move the market are kind of dismissing or whatnot with this undefeated BYU squad?
I know that everybody's kind of anti the freshman quarterback, Bachmeier. I think that people don't believe that he's going to continue to play well. I am not in that realm. I think he's really good. I think he's played well enough that I think he can cover this number. Now, you're right. If this is under 10, you start getting close. It's never been closer to 7, but a little lower, fine. Texas Tech is probably the superior team. They've got the better players. They've got the good offense. Crossing 10 for me, Doug, is just a little bit too much. I just don't see BYU, with how they've played defensively and how Bachmeier's played, I don't see them getting smashed by 14, 17, 20. And Sataki's done a really nice job. They're coming off a bye, too. They didn't play last week. I think that you'll get BYU at their best effort down in Lubbock this week. I think it's just too many points. Way too many points for them. That's where
It does feel a little high. I'm not taking the points. It does feel a little high.
Well, everybody can eat at 35-28. That's an everybody. Yeah. Everybody on Betting Weekly Live can eat if we could just get that score. So I have no problem with that at all. Next, Big Ten. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Oregon making the trip to Iowa. Oregon minus 6.5, road favorites, total 42.5 this week.
Yeah, I'd pump the brakes on thinking Oregon's going to be automatically the right side here. I'm not sold on the Ducks. I thought they did well with the Happy Valley win. It was a much different world when they went and played that game against James Franklin in the whiteout. But I think this Hawkeyes team's a lot better than people realize. The offense is nowhere near as putrid and anemic as it was during the Brian Ferentz OC days. I think a better play to play this. Now, let's say Iowa wins. Then their power rating against USC or whoever they have next is going to be very different. So I think there's line value taking the plus 1,000 or 10-1 on them to make the playoffs. They're at the Coliseum next week. And then Sparty at home and at Nebraska, they should be okay. I think at Nebraska will be a tough game, but they're the better team. That's usually the day after Thanksgiving. I think 10-1 is a fun play here. That's how I would approach it. Now, there's a chance they lose by 3 and the plus 6.5 would have been a winner and your playoff ticket's not good, but that's why we're getting 10-1. So I would fire that way on this before this game.
I like that way of playing it, if you think. And let me just tell you something. Like, it feels like a lot of people are on Iowa this week and think that Iowa will win this game outright. Just listening to a lot of people talking about the game, even not from outside of a betting perspective, just think that Iowa's live here against Oregon. I like the total 42.5. You mentioned it. Iowa has scored a lot more this year than usual. 41 points against Minnesota, 25 against Penn State, 37 against Wisconsin, 38 against Rutgers. This is not, like the side, I know in Iowa State, they play like a 16-13 game. I know that's like your typical Iowa type of score, but they got a little offense this year. And I don't think Oregon's going to get shut down. So 42.5, this is, a 24-20 game and you got this over, Doug. I kind of like the over.
What do you make of it when Oregon got kind of stymied by Indiana? So, it was a different, Oregon can play bully with the best of them. Like when Oregon State comes to Autzen.
Yep.
Obviously that Penn State game was very low scoring. Stone under until you got lucky with overtime if you had the over.
Yep.
So Oregon's played two sort of ranked opponents, quality opponents, and the Indiana game snuck under the total, if I'm not mistaken. It was 30-20. Pick 6 involved by the Ducks, picked off Mendoza and housed it. But for the most part, the Ducks kind of played, low-scoring games by their standards. But this is a different number. This is 42.5. So what do you make of the fact that in these big games, it's not been your typical Oregon outburst of offense?
Yeah, that the Penn State game was 17 up going into overtime, right? I think it was
17-3 in the fourth, I want to say.
Yeah, gosh. and then you had the rally there with it. Look, this is obviously not Bo Nix from a couple of years ago. This is not Dylan Gabriel last year. I don't think that this Oregon offense is as explosive as the last couple of years. And have they had a couple of weeks? Yeah, I think 20 against Indiana. Even last week, or 2 weeks ago, they had a bye. they kind of were ho-hum against Wisconsin, right? 21 points. Really didn't have
So it
to
was
do much in
rain
that
and
game.
wind. And now Wisconsin played them last year at Camp Randall and lost 16-13. So
Yeah.
whatever the Badgers are doing defensively kind of stymied that Ducks offense. But it was a field position battle. Wisconsin was living in the backfield. Oregon had some big plays to like get first downs, but this thing was like 13-0 at half or something, maybe 10-0 at half. So that was a different game. But again, wind and rain. But yeah, I mean, the Ducks offense is not Chip Kelly's offense back in the day.
Speaking of Wisconsin, keeping Luke Fickell, dog, going to be around for another year in Matt.
I mean, I don't agree with it, but what I've been saying, like, who are these people that are firing? Like, who's LSU going to be better with than Brian Kelly and worth whatever 50 million or whatever the buyout? I'm not the biggest Brian Kelly guy, but he did coach up a Heisman Trophy winner a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And where's the bar set with these schools now that there's more parity across college football with NIL and the transfer? I just think they're all looking at it through a skewed lens. So maybe they improve, and maybe there's a Mike Elko story from Jimbo Fisher buyout to Mike Elko undefeated season that everyone's chasing. But for the most part, like, there's a lot of people out there that are going to be disappointed they fired their coach and have a little buyer's remorse or fires remorse, because I just wonder if they're just playing musical chairs with the same quarterbacks or coaches, I say.
Yeah. I did see also that they were going to infuse him with more NIL money in Wisconsin, allegedly.
All right.
So maybe we'll see if that can help Luke out up there with the Badgers. Number 3, Texas A&M, undefeated at 8-0, into Columbia to take on Drinkwitz and Missouri. This, of course, just after 3:30 East Saturday at Bet Rivers. Texas A&M -7 with a flat 48.
Yeah, so A&M's been involved in a lot of high-scoring games. Missouri's lost their quarterback for the year, Przybula from the Penn State transfer. They're going with a freshman, but 2 weeks off, so off a bye. I think Drinkwitz can coach up his QB, who looked pretty good. He has all the measurables, like a big, strong-armed guy. At home in Como, I kind of like the over, and I like A&M team total of 27.5. These Aggies can score on anyone, right? And they're going to be forced into some shootouts because they got a loose defense. So I'm going to probably split up a unit play on A&M team total over, but also I like the game over 48. I think the Tigers can get some. Now, they do have a slow pace, and I was on the over in their game against Alabama, and I didn't get there, went barely under. I needed that late field goal instead of the interception to get overtime and everything. But I will say Mizzou might have to step on the gas a little bit if A&M gets a 3-score lead or something like that, where they're not going to be able to just sort of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But Mizzou does have typically slow pace, but I think the A&M defense will help that out. And 48 is not a huge number in college football, but I think the Tigers will be ready for this game. So I actually lean to the home dog here a little bit.
The Tigers have been they've been in every game, right, Doug? Pretty much.
Wow.
I mean, you look at some of these games, they've come up short in Alabama and Vandy. They came up short in those games, but they're in them. And yes, they're going to have this kid Zollers in there at quarterback who came in the Vandy game before the bye. I think they are going to try to slow things down a little bit. Texas A&M probably isn't going to allow them to do that defensively as well. I think it's a game that I think a touchdown is too much with how well Missouri's played this year. Missouri has shown that they could play with some of these top teams. I think Texas A&M wins. 7's a lot for me, Doug. I lean to Missouri getting the 7 at home.
And how do you feel about the quarterback situation there?
I think that the kid can play a little bit. Now, he showed enough to me in that second half against Vandy that he can move the team. He can move the football a little bit. And now he's going to play a defense that has allowed others to move. Texas A&M has been built with some fast and loose offense. Their defense has given up a little bit. I think that this kid's going to be able to move the ball somewhat. But Drinkwitz also, he's going to have that game plan of maybe slowing the game down a little, right, Doug? We know he likes to do that.
That's what he wants to do. Can he afford to do that if the Aggies get their points?
Michael Corleone, I will take that. Missouri lost but covers. That's fine by me, Michael Corleone. And we get Doug the over while we're at it.
Yeah,
how about
the over?
How about 31-27 Texas A&M?
There we go.
Something like that. Get over the team total. Get over the total. Get the cover. let's get everybody involved there in that one. LSU and Alabama, Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. Of course, LSU playing their first game since chopping Brian Kelly. Now with 9.5 at Bet Rivers, 49.5 total.
It's a tough one. Both teams off a bye. It's a rivalry game. Obviously, LSU fired Brian Kelly. Night game at Bryant-Denny Stadium is no joke. I've been there for this game a couple times. I've been to Death Valley one. I've been to the one in T-Town. I just think they're going to circle the wagons here. I think the Tigers will come ready to play. Now, I don't know how good they are offensively. That's the concern of mine. If it gets to 10, I'd probably take the 10. Alabama sort of hit a wall in that South Carolina game. They had just played ranked opponent after ranked opponent, and they were running on empty, and it was on the road in Columbia. And I actually liked South Carolina and the points, and they really should have won. I didn't think Alabama would be that test. I thought they'd win by 6 or something. I think Alabama is going to be fresh and sharp, and they always start strong. Like Alabama first quarters are great. I worry that LSU doesn't have enough offense to hang around. Like their offense just ran out in the second half when they played A&M, and that was at home at Death Valley. But Alabama's different. I lean to the dog here, but I can't pull the trigger.
I'm with you. I'd feel a lot better if we could cross 10 with LSU. I'd feel a little bit better about it. You don't know what you're going to get offensively. Because remember, not just did Brian Kelly get fired, didn't they get rid of like a bunch of the offensive staff? The offensive coordinator was out. Right. They've got, you're going to have a whole new set of guys calling plays. So there could be a much different philosophy for Nussmeier and LSU in this game on Saturday night. And that's a lot of unknown going into it. Under 10, not enough to get me there, Doug. But like you, maybe 10 plus could get me there. So a couple of the big games coming up on Saturday afternoon and night. All right, we got a game tonight, 2 games tonight, actually, in college football. Why don't we start, Doug, with this game? Because this kind of is the bigger ticket game tonight, I guess you could say, in college, and that's USF, who is going to be playing against the Roadrunners of UTSA. The game is, though, in Tampa this evening. Minus 13.5 for the Bulls. 67.5. Big total tonight.
So UTSA is really a different team home and away.
Yes.
I like the Roadrunners. I've been on them at home. They're coming off a butt kicking last week, but much different animal here. I like the Bulls, and I like the team total over. It's a monster. You're going to need 6+ touchdowns, but this UTSA team is not that great for a reason. So I'm rolling with South Florida here, minus the points and the team total over.
Yeah, it's a monstrous number. I have confidence that USF can score tonight. Like you, I have no confidence that UTSA. You look at them away from the dome. I mean, 17 points at North Texas, who gives up 1 billion points. 21 points at Temple, 17 points at Colorado State. But meanwhile, at home, Doug, they're scoring in the 40s and 50s. They can't score on the road. I'm taking under 67.5 tonight. I'm sure South Florida will get theirs. I don't think the Roadrunners are going to help them at all. So I'm going to go under the total.
Why not just lay the points?
Could lay the points as well. Let's lay the points then. Whack them up. 13.5.
No, I mean, it's good to flush it out. I'm just asking, like, do you think there's a chance that South Florida sputters a little bit? I mean, is weather in the forecast? Things like that. I mean, I guess that's my only question. I tried to fade this South Florida team and took North Texas on that Friday night at home. Remember, we had a change in favorite that night. Yep. It went from like -2 to the -3 the other side, and they got absolutely boat raced to the Mean Green. So you have South Florida off the loss at Memphis. They lost to Miami this year. They were completely outclassed at the U, but I think they're going to completely manhandle UTSA here. South Florida's good. They're not great. They're good. They were ranked. Remember, they beat Boise at the beginning of the year. Then they beat Florida, but that was a different Florida team. But still, give them credit for beating the Gators at the Swamp. I think they're going to name their score, and this offense just scores so easily.
Doug, I got no problem laying 13.5 with USF tonight. I think the total jumps out at me first just because I just don't see UTSA scoring at all. And 67.5 is just such an enormous number that even if South Florida trounces them, I don't think that they can get there. So I have zero faith that UTSA is going to do anything offensively in this game tonight. So there you go. The other game for you tonight, we got a Fun Belt game, I believe, this evening. In the Georgia Southern and App State. -5 for App State and a 61. Anything for you there, Doug? I'm not on that one.
Not really. I'm just calling up my notes here. These games are tough, man. There's such a identity crisis with some of these teams. They're almost schizophrenic. Now, Georgia Southern has bad run defense. App State has a fast pace, but they're so bad against the pass. Like, I think over maybe is a decent play, but I don't know. Like, I was looking at a situational spot and I just couldn't get there with either team. So we might just be forced to watch the NFL tonight.
We might just be forced, or USF and UTSA, of course.
Right.
We can get involved with that as well. College football, Thursday night for us. What about college hoops? There's a lot of games, not many great ones. We'll put that out there. I mean, Florida's laying a huge 40-plus number against North Florida. We've got any other ranks playing tonight. Auburn is playing against Merrimack this evening, which I know you're going to talk about. Anything interest you in college hoops?
4 ranked teams involved, none playing each other, none of those high-profile games like Duke, Texas or something. But I'm going to fade Steve Pearl. I might just have to do it the rest of my life. They were a big favorite in their first game, needed overtime to get there. Now, sometimes we see teams respond, and the Tigers may, obviously have the talent and even just physical size advantage over Merrimack. But I can't imagine Steve Pearl knows what he's doing. There's only so much Dad can help with. I think I don't think the market is right with the Tigers. Now, they may win by 30. I don't care. I'm just going to come back and bet against them in the next game. So this number's come down from 26.5 range. It's more of like, will he have his team prepared? Will he make the right substitutions? But in a lot of these, and we talked about this for other teams, not just Auburn, like they're getting everyone's best shot. They want to take down Goliath, little David here is Merrimack. I just think, the point spread doesn't really, it's not a tight market when you have this newbie coach who's kind of overwhelmed, I would say. So I'm planning to bet against Auburn, and maybe even when SEC plays, conference play begins, like just bet against them second half. Like he's not going to have the right adjustments that other coaches are going to make, the more experienced guys in the SEC. But for tonight, I'll take the 24 points.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you on the flip side of that Auburn game from the other night, because Bethune is at Miami against the Hurricanes tonight.
Right.
And after losing in overtime to Auburn, they're getting 16.5. Would that game maybe have been 20 if they didn't just take Auburn to overtime?
Sure, for sure.
So.
I mean, it's like the week 1 college football pool, from week 1 to week 2, you got to stay fluid.
Right.
So there's got to be an adjustments after you see these teams play. And then if not, the market will correct it. Like the steam will come in like we've seen in this Auburn Merrimack game. So I don't think Bethune's going to have a flat spot or anything like that. Auburn, I mean, look, they're off a loss. Sorry, Florida. But this one's they're playing Miami. I mean, I didn't, nothing jumped out. Again, I said this yesterday. I talked to a lot of college basketball people. This is not my wheelhouse. I know enough, obviously, but I talk to people who live and breathe this stuff, and Merrimack's what I came away with.
Any other ones for Ohio, Illinois State?
I couldn't tell you one name of one player in this game, but hey, that got us a win with ease yesterday when I had the over. I like Ohio here at home. This was a pick 'em. Shaded towards the Bobcats here. It's just supposedly it's the right side, and even at 1.5, it's the right side.
There you go. Now tomorrow night we get a good one, which of course is Kansas, North Carolina's playing tomorrow night in college basketball. So we will have that on a Friday night here on Betting Weekly Live. All right, Doug, it's best bet time. Got to see what we're going with here for the Daily Double to try to get ourselves going. I am going to stick with what has been working, and that is on the ice. And we're going to go to the Penguins at home against Washington. Penguins money line -107. Caps second night of a back-to-back. Penguins good at home. I am going to go there. I do really like that under in the USF UTSA game. But for the Daily Double, Doug, I am going with the Penguins tonight on the money line.
Yeah, I had a lot of options here. None I really loved, but I'll stick with college football. Earlier in the week, we laid it with Akron, double digits. It got there at home in Maction. We'll do it here with South Florida Bulls, 13.5. Like I mentioned, UTSA, such a different team away from the Dome at home. This Bulls team is going to look to get right after losing to Memphis. I think we'll see a lot of points from at least one team here. I think they'll win comfortably, and they'll keep their foot on the gas. UTSA can score too, so they're not going to just be up 14 and play clock. They're gonna let it sling it out and things like that. So I'm comfortable laying 13.5 here with the Bulls.
They do need style points. They're in that mix. South Florida, Memphis, Tulane, all these teams are still kind of there to maybe get that spot for the group of 5 in the college football playoff. So there it is for tonight. Pittsburgh, the Penguins on the ice, -107. South Florida, -13.5. The Daily Double at +261. Looking for Doug, not 1, not 2, but 3 in a row tonight for the Daily Double here on Betting Weekly Live. Let's get it, Doug.
Heck yeah. I mean, look, you got a couple of these all week. We're fine. So we're already playing with house money.
Playing with house money this week, that's for sure. All right, Doug, tremendous job. As always, we'll see you again tomorrow. We will go through all the football for the weekend. We've got the NBA Cup games tomorrow night. There is a couple hockey games. There's some Friday night football, too. Memphis, Tulane's a big game. I think USC Northwestern is playing in college as well on Friday night. So a very busy Friday we will have for you on Betting Weekly Live. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian, Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Everyone have a great night, and we will see you back here tomorrow.